Good morning, my preciouses. Kooky Kelly here. I went to see my honey bunny yesterday. They got him partially awake. He knew who I was, and I told him because I knew he was worrying. Even in and out of consciousness, that's who he is. And I told him, baby, I got you short term already. They already paid out on that one. And then I called in and got you long term. Everything is taken care of. You're good to go. And because you set up everything automatic payment, they already did your checks from both banks, so everything's taken care of there. The only thing is that I know, because you did it for me, is the water bill is not automatic payment, and that's okay because it gets me out of the house, y'all. I don't know what I'm doing, but that's tore up, and I ain't been cleaning my house like crazy lately. I mean, I've done a couple things, but nothing crazy, okay? But anyway, I told him don't try to talk, just to give in to what they're doing because they're trying to help you, baby. It looks like, y'all, he may not have to have a tracheotomy. Kim said, girl, oh my God, because she went with me, because that's her best friend, I'm her best friend and he's her best friend. Anyway, she said, girl, that's fabulous news. And then the respiratory therapist came in. He said, we got him off a little bit of oxygen. We turned it off and just kept him on his BiPAP to see how he could do. And he was doing it. It wore him out, which I said, I expect that. Because he's been through a lot right now, and then I know it's not over with. And then Kim said, girl, it may not be as long as we think. And I said, well, I know, because he's a fighter, Kim. He's tough. He doesn't give in to stuff like that. That's just, something to him. And I explained to him why he had the respirator down his throat. And then I said, baby, look at me. And he opened his eyes. I said, you need this. You cannot breathe on your own fully. They cut his oxygen down to 30 now. So it's getting there, y'all. And then they said they were going to try again yesterday night to see if he can breathe on his own and just go from there. And he was doing it, y'all. All he needed was the BiPAP for a little bit of oxygen to help him with that. To help him with that breathing a little bit. Y'all, that looks crazy. Look, I braided my hair last night because it was getting in my face and driving me crazy. So here it is. But it was driving me crazy, and I can't sleep with my hair in my face with my BiPAP. Y'all, look right here. There's dark colored hairs in there. You see them right there? I think that's gray hair. Look. Because I used to be all like this right here. But, I guess I'm going to have salt and pepper hair, which that's okay with me. But anyway, he is improving, y'all. It was, I did break down, and Kimmy knew I would, because I haven't seen his eyes open in so long, and I haven't seen him in over a week, so it was really hard. And she said she knew it would be, but on her days off she will take me up there. I said, okay. But I want to talk to my psychologist and psychiatrist to see if I can't do it on my own yet. But Kimmy said, the way you broke down Kelly yesterday, I don't think so. And then you trying to drive home by yourself like that? No. So you might as well just give up and wait till the 17th is when my appointment is with them. again. First it was on the 22nd, but they moved stuff around to get me in. But anyway, I told him about the check coming in already, and then I said, baby, I can't get into your Chase. I can get into your Wells Fargo, but when you get paid, do they automatically go to those checking accounts? And he said, I said, okay, then it's done. We're all good, okay? And he said, and opened his eyes and looked at me like this. And I said, thumbs up. And he did this. And then I said, see, baby, you know I'm going to take care of you no matter what, okay? This is just a little ant hill that you're stepping over, okay? And I'm going through it with you, and you know I am there, okay? And he said, and I said, you know I love you, right? And Kimmy was saying, oh, Kelly. Now it's going to make me cry, y'all. Oh, Kelly, he's understanding you. I said, he always has. Even when he was a coma and he came out, he understood me. Okay? That's how worried he is in his subconscious. Okay? I needed to tell him that in person. That everything is taken care of. That I would never let him down. That I would do this. And then that he's got long-term disability coming. For him not to worry. To him just to, take it easy. And just take in what's going on with him. And let it help and heal his body. And she said, oh my gosh, Kelly, and then the doctors came in and said, no, he is improving. It's slow, but it's improvement. And I said, I knew it would be slow, and I still know there's a long road ahead. I know this. And he said, maybe not as long as you think. And I said, oh, and broke down again. And he said, I'm sorry. I said, no, don't be sorry. This is beautiful news to me. So he said, wow, Kimmy, you kept her informed, didn't you? And she goes, this is my best friend. This is my best friend. Talk about Honey Bunny. And she pointed at both of us and touching me in the chest, and then pushed it and touched his foot. And then he goes, and just smiled. The RT did. And I was like, that's his respiratory therapist. And Kimmy said, he's really good, Kelly. Really good. And I said, everybody that has been in here with Honey Bunny is very good. And I know that's because of you. You go here through like a white lightning, and they know everybody in here knows that this is one of your best friends, and his wife is your other. So they all know, and so they all know that he is special. And so they do their due diligence, you know what I mean? So, y'all, I am so lucky. And me and Kim was talking the other night. I don't know if I told y'all this or not, but I'm going to repeat it. We were talking on the phone, and I gasped. And she goes, what's wrong? I said, Kim, you remember me telling you from the beginning we were meant to meet, something significant was supposed to happen? And then she goes, yeah, you taught me my worth. You told me who I was. And I said, no, that wasn't it. That was just between me and you as friends. And she said, what? I said, Honey Bunny. She said, and she gasped and she started crying, and we were over the phone. And I said, do you get it now? And she goes, oh my God, Kelly. I said, yes. Always said you were an angel sent from God. I knew that from day one because I just felt it. And he told me that you were one of his precious ones, that you were there when people were in hospice and you helped them to regain the love from their family that they pushed aside. You gave them dignity when it was coming to the end. And you brought people back from the brink of death to live again. You gave them a second chance at life. You were there for their family members. You were there for them, and you taught them to fight and do not give up. And she said, "Oh my God, Kelly, I'm here for him." I said, "Yes, you are. God put you and me together, and we have been together, y'all, for 8 years. Me and Kim and Honey Bunny. She is my best friend. He is her best friend. We can talk about anything, y'all. I helped her through some rough times, and she helped me through some rough times, and she helped him through some rough times. And we're just all here together for each other. And he has gotten nasty with a couple of his best male friends about her. And then I said, no, 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 no. No, no, no. Kimmy was a part of that too. Okay? She was a part of that. She was flirting with him first. And then Honey Bunny goes, oh shit, and I jumped Jeff's ass. I say, yeah, buddy. But he said, I don't remember jumping his ass. I said, yeah, you did. And then you made him feel like he was the one that did it when Kimmy was the one that started the flirting, okay? But anyway, y'all, I figured out why we were meant to be together. And it was because of Honey Bunny. Because I prayed to God to put him where he needed to be, if he needed to be flown to Dallas or whatever. And then his doctor over at Southwest said, we need to take him to Harris downtown Fort Worth. And I said, yes, yes. He said, is that okay? I said, yes, 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 yes. Because I knew who worked there. Y'all, tell me God does not work in mysterious ways. We have known each other for 8 years, and it came down to this moment on Thanksgiving Day. And you know what? All y'all's prayers did this. All y'all's prayers brought him to where he is, where he opens his eyes and shakes his head. When I say, do you understand? And he'll say, and open his eyes real bright. And then he does have a little bruising right here because of laying on his stomach when they were proning him. And that would make his oxygen levels go, the carbonation in it go out of his body. So he is no longer being proned. Thank you for your precious prayers and your support. My Honey Bunny is on his way back. He's on his way back. Y'all did this because God answers y'all's prayers. And he answered mine. And now I know the reason why me and Kimmy were supposed to meet. Because I told her everything happens for a reason. We were meant to meet. We were meant to meet. And we were meant to connect the first day we laid eyes on her. Is because I was keeping her puppies, which was her world. And from that day on, because I told her I made the best burgers in Tarrant County on the grill, girl. And she said, well, I'm going to have to come over. And then she got well. And she said, I am, because we kept in touch with our phones, you know, texting and stuff. And then I told her, she said, well, I'm coming over. I said, oh my God, you better bring them boys with you, and I mean it. So she came over with Jonah and Samson, which they're little long-haired dachshund, and one was black and one was reddish brown. Jonah was the reddish brown, and then Sam was the black one. And both of them, y'all, were my favorite. I don't care. I love them so much. And then we got Mona and Ruru in between that time, and they all became best friends. Mona, Rufus, Jonah, and Sam. And they both loved Mona. They were like, she's my girlfriend, my girlfriend. I said, hey, she could have two girlfriends or two boyfriends, okay? And then so they quit nipping at each other over Mona, and then they all four of them just became best friends and went outside and sniffing around the yard, all four of them, and Ruru and Mona would show them different places, even though Jonah and Sam have been there before, but they said, this is our backyard, and go check this out and go check this out, and it was just fun and to watch them interact. But that day, y'all, was meant to happen. And from that day on, she would come over every time she was off of work, and her days of work, were completely different. And it was the other job that she was working where they didn't really appreciate her. And I told her, Kim, you work too hard. You work, when you get home off of work, you are working. You're working 24 hours a day. He is not worthy of you. And then she said, yeah, I'm getting kind of tired of it. I said, you need to go put your application in at different places. I mean it. I'm serious about this. And then she said, I'm scared, Kelly. I said, no, don't be scared, Kim, because they're going to snatch your ass up immediately. I'm telling you, because of what you know, what you do, your compassion, they're going to snatch your ass up quick. In 10 months, she will be there 5 years, y'all. They snatched her up in less than a week. I think she put her application in. 2 days later, they called her up for an in-face interview. She went up. They hired her on the fucking spot, okay? She got, in the first 6 months, she got a massive raise. She got a bonus, and I'm talking massive bonus. And she has never been happier in her life where she works. She was meant to be there, okay? All this falls into because of where Honey Bunny is right now. All of it fell in. All of it just went like this. To that moment, they said, we need to move him. Is it okay? Yes, yes, yes. Because they said Harris downtown Fort Worth. They mentioned it because of the ECMO machine. And then I said, okay, well, where they want to move him? And then they said, Harris downtown Fort Worth. Yes, yes, yes. Because I knew Kim was there. Absolutely. Get him on the ambulance and get him there now. And they didn't know if he was going to make the ambulance ride, y'all. I said, he will. He will. I know him. He will. And so they were shocked, and they brought him in. He is very bad. He is very bad. I said, I know that. That's why he's here. And then I told Kim he is on his way. And she called me, and she said, girl, because I texted her and told him he is on his way to the hospital. And she texted me, and she said, I'm walking with him right now. He has arrived, and he is on his way to the cardiac ICU. And I said, why cardiac, Kim? And she said that was the only bed they had. And they said, you need to get him here now. And so they got him there now. And she watched him come into the emergency department. And she walked up there with him, y'all, told him, everybody, who he was and what he meant to her, and everything just went, meow. Y'all, tell me everything does not happen for a reason. I know it does. Like with your car being broken and you don't have the money, God is fixing to bless you, girl, because you are one of his chosen beauties, okay? You are a special godsend. You are here for me for that reason. Everything happens for a reason. And your gift is coming to you very soon. Okay? I mean it. I know this. I appreciate each and every one of you, y'all. You don't know how much, because with y'all, this would have never happened. Okay? We have all come together for this. Okay? I started YouTube for this. I didn't know why I started YouTube, but I just did it. Okay? I just did it, and this was the reason. So we could all come together and do this, and our blessings that we need are coming to each and every one of you. Mine has come to me, yours is coming to you. All you do need to do is ask, and I am praying for the same thing for you, okay? Okay, just let me know what you need in life, and I will pray too. And everybody that I know on YouTube, I will let them know that we need to conform this prayer circle for everybody, okay? I love you guys. I appreciate you so much. You are my hearts and my souls, and I thank you. And if I could give you a hug in person, oh, it would be so profound. What you have done for me is so profound that my hug to you would be so profound. Okay, y'all, I'm going to say bye for now. And I may be here on here later. I don't know. Yeah. Bye, y'all. Kooky Kelly out. Smiling Kooky Kelly.